the attorney who has been at the center of some of the biggest high-profile cases of our time, including Chris Brown's and Michael Jackson's. Criminal defense attorney Mark Geragos represented both of these big stars, and along with attorney Pat Harris, has written a truly fascinating must-read book. It's called Mistrial, an insider's look at how the criminal justice system works. Mark Geragos joining us from Hollywood tonight. Great having you here, Mark.
Thanks for having me, AJ.
Of course, and you really have seen it all. Let's roll back some of what you've done. Back in 2002, you represented Scott Peterson, who was convicted, of course, of murdering his wife, Lacey, and their unborn son. You represented Michael Jackson in the early stages of his child molestation trial until you got caught up in the Scott Peterson case. 2009, you represented Chris Brown when he pled guilty to assaulting Rihanna. I got to know, what is the secret to representing celebrities like that when so much of the public has already so often made up their mind about them?
It's an amazing kind of thing to see. I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I always joke that people assume that all you do is defend celebrities, but probably 70% of the practice are people you've never heard of and never want to have you hear about them. What you, at least if there is a secret, is passionate about what you do, and make sure that you understand when these clients come in, like all clients, they have to understand that it's not unlike going to an oncologist if you've got cancer. We're in charge. We make the decisions. We'll take input from them. But at the end of the day, we're going to do it my way or you're going to take the highway.
And that's why Michael Jackson came to you and why Scott Peterson came to you. And those guys didn't plead guilty. However, another big star that I mentioned that you handled, Chris Brown, he did plead guilty. Did you have to convince him to do that or instruct him this is what we're going to do?
On the contrary, I mean, Chris has said this, and I'm not revealing any attorney-client because he said it publicly. He wanted to take responsibility immediately. I wouldn't let him. I said, no, we're going to work through this. I'm going to do what I have to do in order to get you to a place where I think you deserve to be. And that's what ended up happening. And, you know, I'm proud to say with Chris specifically, even though he pled and took responsibility, and he worked real hard to go through the domestic violence counseling and everything else. He brought Rihanna by a couple of months ago to the office, and I had a nice chat with her, just one-on-one, about all the work that he's been through, and she confirmed what I've seen as well. Over the last 4 years or so, there's been a monumental change with him. He's somebody that I couldn't be prouder of.
Well, that's good to hear coming from you, who I trust implicitly, and we hear so many different things about Chris, and it's been hard to sort of give him not a pass on this, but let him grow and evolve. So thank you for bringing that to us. I'm glad to hear that. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, he does get, I mean, he has that kind of magnet for attention and people kind of taking shots or a target on his back, so to speak. But, you know, I will tell you, he is one of the most earnest young men that I've encountered. I've become incredibly close to him and to his mother, Joyce, and the people around him. And I take a lot of pride in making sure that he's walking the straight and narrow as much as humanly possible for somebody in his position.
Well, he's very lucky to have you speaking out on his behalf. Now, of course, when there's celebrities involved, Mark, there's going to be a three-ring circus around many of these trials. And you were at the center of perhaps the biggest one of them all, the iconic moment with Michael Jackson in his trial. And in your book, you talk about this moment. We're looking at it right here. There he is, Michael climbing on top of that SUV. This was after he left the courthouse, his videographer jumping up there with him to capture it all. What were you thinking when you saw this happening?
Well, I will tell you, the first thing that ran through my mind is how in the world does a guy his age do that and just jump right up on the top of the SUV? Second of all, Ben Brofman, who was my co-counsel there along with Pat, turned to me and said, if we don't get this under control, this guy's going to show up in pajamas, which he ultimately did. So, yeah. You know, it's something, you know, the first real reaction as the lawyer is, yeah, how is the judge going to react to this? This isn't something that you want the judge to see and think that there's some kind of a dismissal or diminution of the seriousness of the proceedings. So that's what went through my mind. I think Michael had and deservedly so, he had been falsely accused in that case. And, and there was a lot of people taking shots at him, and
Yeah.
I think this was a way to kind of reward his fans and tell them, I'm not going to, there's nothing to this, basically.
Well, of course, right now, Mark, the circus of the moment is the Jodi Arias trial. Everybody is fascinated by this murder case. One juror has been dismissed for talking about the case, and in your book, you talk about stealth jurors in high-profile cases. Tell me quickly what you mean by that.
Well, stealth jurors is something that we coined back in the Peterson case, which is somebody who comes in there and you think that they're the ideal juror because they've kind of hit all the points. They know what to say. They're wonderful. Then we discovered in one of these jurors' cases in Peterson that there was an internet chat and somebody had forwarded it to my office, where the woman had said, literally, I'm going to lie my way onto this jury and get past this dumb, and I won't use the second word, defense lawyer, meaning me, and I'm going to fry this guy. And, that is something that gives you chills and makes you lose sleep. And that's a real problem kind of in this area of, or this era of kind of nonstop wall-to-wall supersized trials.
Yeah, and another reason why what you think the outcome of a trial won't necessarily be the outcome of the trial. I got to leave it there, Mark, but it is always great speaking to you. Thanks again.
Thank you, AJ. And
the new book is Mistrial, an insider's look at how the criminal justice system works. Get it now.